So to begin this project, the first thing that you're going to want to do is pick out your first piece of paper, what color you want it to be, and trace out what your shape is going to be. Remember, you're going to be cutting the same shape over and over, so make sure that you pick something that you can do consistently. As I'm cutting with my blade, notice that I am turning the paper to make it easier to cut around certain angles, and moving my arm, moving my hands, and just moving my paper to make it easier for myself. Okay, also keep in mind that when you're cutting this, you're going to need to do a really clean job because you're using both pieces that result from this. So the outline, like here, and then this piece also. So make sure that you do a really careful job cutting and keep everything nice and clean. When you're adding your next color, you're gonna put it underneath the first one that you cut. And just like we did for the selfie stencils, you're going to paper clip your pieces of paper together so that they don't slide around when you're cutting. And they need to be the same shape consistently, so it's really important that you remember to keep those paper clips in place and that your shape is cut in the right area or it's not going to line up the right way. Every time I cut a piece, I take both pieces and make sure that they line up nicely, see if I need to make any adjustments, if everything's cutting well. Just check your progress, make sure all your cuts are nice and clean, and that everything is fitting together correctly. Don't forget that every single time that you add a new piece of paper, you're putting it under what you've already done and paper clipping all of your pieces of paper together. So now that I'm on my third piece, I want to make sure that all three pieces of paper are paper clipped together and that I remember to move them over. And if you find that it's getting difficult to cut as it's getting smaller and smaller, I found that it's also helpful to trace out your shape over and over. This can also help to make sure the distance is the right length. So it should be about the same distance or equidistant from the edge that you already cut. You don't want it to be like an inch away in one cut and then only a centimeter away in your next cut. They should be about the same distance, as close as you can to the same distance as possible. Adding my next piece here. Again, moving my paper clips, making sure that I now have 4 pieces that are all paper clipped together properly. Now that my pieces are getting tinier, still being careful to make sure that I'm cutting equidistant from the last cut that I made. I'm working about 1/2 centimeter from each cut. So now I have all my pieces cut out. And now I can think about how I want to secure these together. Remember that you can put spacers in between each one if you want the effect to be even more three-dimensional. And as I think about securing these together, keeping in mind the order that everything needs to go, making sure that it lines up the right way before I secure anything down.